In this video, I'm going to be explaining the other scoring options within the Peer app. The first thing is the self-scoring policy, which is basically what do you do with the students' scores that they've given themselves. And there are four options. So the first option is basically just to not count the self-rating and to disregard it when calculating that student's peer evaluation score. That's a perfectly legitimate option. The second option is to count the self-rating. So that then is just another rating that is included when working out that person's average peer mark. The third option is to substitute the self-rating with the average rating given to other people. And just to illustrate what I mean by that, imagine for example that you're Aaron and that you've given yourself a 5 out of 5 for that, but you've only given an average rating of 3.5 to other people. So what the Peer app would then do is that it would take that 3.5 and it would substitute it here under Aaron's self-score for himself. And then the fourth option is to give the raters the freedom to be able to self-rate themselves, but you cap the self-rating at the average rating given. So to go back to the example of Aaron could give himself a 1 out of 5, a 2 out of 5, a 3 out of 5, but if he gives himself a rating more than 3.5 out of 5, then that will be capped at 3.5. So if he tried to give himself a rating of 5 out of 5, that would then be rounded down to 3.5 out of 5. The Peer app also lets you specify the minimum number of peers for the peer mark to be calculated, and so this option basically prevents for example, just a single person from providing a rating of somebody else that completely dominates their scoring. So I usually set the minimum number of peers to at least 2 or 3, and then Peer also gives you an option about what to do if that minimum is not met. Like, for instance, if you've only had one of the peers filling out the peer evaluation survey. So the first option is just to excuse the student from the peer evaluation. That means that all of their other marks for the unit will be proportionally weighted more when working out their final mark. The second option is just to substitute the peer mark with the shared team mark. So if they got set, for instance, 70% for the team mark, then they'll get 70% for the peer evaluation. So that's another legitimate option. Or the final option is just to automatically set the peer mark to 0 if not enough of the peers complete it. There are also a number of policies related to penalties that can be applied to the students if they haven't done the peer evaluation properly. So if, for instance, a student hasn't completed the peer evaluation, then you can apply 100% penalty to them, which essentially means that even if their peers provide ratings of them, they would get a 0 for the peer evaluation because they didn't actually complete it themselves. You can also penalise the students for only partially completing the peer evaluation survey. I tend not to use this option because sometimes they might get kicked out of the survey because of some sort of internet connectivity problem. So I usually don't apply a penalty for this, but you can do that if you like. You can also apply a late penalty as well. So if the students have completed the peer evaluation survey after the due date, you can either use the default late penalties policy that's built into Canvas, so whatever it is that you've set it, or you can do a custom late penalty, and that's basically the percentage that they lose per day for not completing the peer evaluation. You can also penalise the students if they've tried to game the system. Like, for example, if they've given themselves a perfect score, so 5 out of 5 for everything, you could, penalise. You could actually, give them a 0 for that because, they've, tried to game the system. You could, also penalise the students if they've given all of their peers the bottom score, as well. So if they've given everybody a 1 out of 5, and trying to make themselves look good by comparison, you could actually automatically apply that penalty.